Welcome to this edition of Soul of Warren County. I'm your host, Mickey Gwynn. During the civil rights struggles of the 1950s and 60s, one of the most recognizable acronyms was NAACP, which stands for National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. The NAACP is still fighting those battles against injustice today, but their environment has sort of widened over the years, and they look at things like the environment and climate change. And local chapters and branches have their own issues they have to deal with. Today we're going to talk about some of those local branches. I'm proud to have in the studio with me today the treasurer of the Cookeville Putnam chapter of the NAACP, Dr. Geeta McMillan.
Thank you, Mickey.
And on my near right, member of the executive board of the Warren County branch of the NAACP, Mrs. Henrietta Lusk. Ladies, thanks for coming in this morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having us.
We always like to start our program off with a little bit of background on our guests. Dr. McMillan, won't you start out and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Mickey. My name is Dr. Geeta McMillan. I was a longtime educator, spent 20 years, my last 20 years, as a principal in White County. After retiring from that, I went to Tennessee Tech and worked with senior education students. I have always dreamed that post-work that I could do some activism work, because I was always very passionate about a variety of things, and I'm very fortunate to be our branch is called the Cookeville Putnam branch of the NAACP, and I was very fortunate in 2017 to attend an event and quite frankly, found my home, because they are wonderful and reaching out and trying to help and trying to do the things that I've always wanted to do. So I guess that's my story.
All right, thank you. Miss Henrietta.
Well, thank you, and I'm so happy to be here. My story goes back to 1995 with NAACP, but I have to tell you kind of the background of who I am. I'm married to Marvin Lusk, and between the two of us we have 4 children from previous marriages. My parents were the late Matha and Drusilla Joyner. They taught us certain values, and one of those was to give back, do our best, and all my brothers and sisters were educated. I attended Benson High School, where I was the valedictorian. I knew I would go on to college and probably teach. You only had nursing and teaching then. So I chose teaching, couldn't stand blood. And then I got married and had 2 children. I went to Free Hardeman when it was a junior college. I remember not doing as well as I should have. My dad came to me and he said, I don't know what that GPA thing is, but that D there does not look good. So really when I got the message and really settled it down, went back when it was a senior college, did extremely well. I got a job teaching after graduation in a community action program. My boss, at that time I did not have the teaching certificate, and my boss stood up for me. And I thought, well, if he's going to do that, I'm going to go back and get my teaching certification. I've had a good life, because parents who taught us values and things like that, and we passed those on to others. And as I said, I got into NAACP in Chester County, and Miss Sweetlove, who is our Tennessee State President, she was just starting out. So she sort of mentored me in that time. And as I went on and did other things, I started working, and I've worked 35 years in an educational institution where I was vice president for 30 years. And right now I currently have a business, but retired and love that. But my calling with NAACP is just trying to help people. Our mission is to ensure political, educational, social, and justice for everybody. And the thing that my dad taught us is that education is the key to overcoming poverty, ignorance, and injustice. So I have sort of, I guess, fought that battle for years, and I was so happy to connect with the Cookeville folks. Mm-hmm. They have been just inspirational. And in fact, my husband was on their board, and because of all his activities, I just kind of stepped. He couldn't always go, so and with Zoom, it was easy to get online and listen and participate. And then this past year, they actually put me on the board, and it's a learning experience. I appreciate the way they handle everything. It is about, we have lawyers and we have training to know what to do. So I'm just thrilled to be a part of this operation here.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And sort of my history with the NAACP goes probably back farther than that. I was actually a member of, at that time, they had what was called the junior NAACP. And I was in high school, and there was a group of us that were trying to have a black student union at the Warren County Senior High School. And we were denied a couple of times. So we sought the services of the local NAACP branch here in McMinnville to try to go and speak for us. And they came over to the high school and spoke to the administration and was trying to sort of deliver the reason we wanted this black student union. And unfortunately, they were denied also. But out of that, and many people wrote a book about that experience, is when we came up with what we called the Black Awareness Week, the first ever Black Awareness Week at Warren County Senior High School, where we talked about history. But we talked about history and historical black figures who were probably not prominent in our books at that time. And it was a 3-day event. We went to all of the history classes at the high school, and it was a very well received 3 days of interaction about history, but just about society in general at that time. That was 1975. That was quite a few years ago that we did that. So always been very mindful of the work of the NAACP. But we were talking about earlier that during that time, even in the 60s, there were some divisions amongst various civil rights groups, and maybe even some division between African American blacks in general about how to go about this battle for justice and non-discrimination and things of that nature. Do you feel over the years the NAACP has sort of accomplished that to some degree, you think? Or I know it's going to always be a battle, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, the thing that we ran into early on it was established in 1909, and very prominent leaders. And the thing that we found, and really, I think it's important doesn't matter if it's NAACP or if it's Warren County or if it's Tennessee, it's important to know your history.
Sure.
And one of the things that we have done is we've tried to reinforce why we are who we are. And one of the things from the very beginning was the NAACP really did not do the protests and the activism in that viewpoint. They really concentrated on legislative, legal, and if you think about particularly 1909 up through the Thurgood Marshall years, it's a real critical time period as far as shaping our organization, in that we were doing a lot with African American lawyers, white lawyers, legislators, and things of that brought about the overturn, which was, as you all know, critical, the overturning Plessy versus Ferguson in '54, which brought about Brown versus Board of Education. But then we see, and you all know this, we see kind of a teaming up, if you will, with Dr. King and his movement with the Southern Leadership Christian, SLC. I've got to get my acronym.
Southern Christian Leadership.
Yeah, thank you.
SCLC. Yeah.
And because they were more on the activism side as far as visual. And you'll see the very first one, well, that's not quite true, in my memory. And maybe Henrietta and I. Mickey's too young. It was the March on Washington, because that was an effort with not only the NAACP and the Southern Leadership Christian Conference, but also the UAW. They really combined to organize that, and it was allowing the nation to see peaceful protest we're not going to go and knock out windows and turn over cars. We were able to bring thousands upon thousands of people together peacefully and emphasize the need for change. And we continue that. Oh my gosh, we continue that today because we're not where we need to be.
No.
So we continue pushing and recruiting and getting folks to understand the true struggle that we have not, we're not there. Not where we want to be, let's put it that way.
And the national office is still focusing on the legal part of everything. Just read recently they filed a suit against Mississippi about the water problem there.
Yeah, in Jackson.
And so, you know,
true.
things like that, we really need to, everybody should have free water, clean water.
Clean water, right. You know, it's, looking at the history, because like I said, it really, you kind of, we supported the freedom riders, but the way our organization supported them was through making sure they had attorneys and things of that nature. So, but we've, you know, we're fortunate to have people like you, Mickey, and folks in this community that have made an effort, you know, here locally to really keep people informed about, you know, about the history, number one, and about the need for continued vigilance for equality, because the NAACP was really founded early on based on supporting the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. Now those were passed right after the Civil War, within that decade really. We had three, but then, you know, then along came Jim Crow and all of those things, the pushback, and you know, anyway, but the thing that is to remember that there's still pushback for what I believe in, and I know you guys do too. I mean, we believe in the foundation of the Constitution.
Right, exactly.
You know, that all men are created equal, and we are, you know, entitled to the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it ain't always so,
No.
you know.
Very much so.
But I'm sorry, I could.
No, like I said, that's not a problem at all. Enjoy the conversation. One thing I would like to ask, are you noticing any issues with getting younger people into the organization? As I say, back during my day,
I
we
can
had
answer that.
Okay.
Cookeville has a college campus, college operation. Mark Ryan is our president there, and he is doing a fantastic job in that. But we would like to spread that out. We would like for others to know, and that's probably why we're here today, is to get Warren County more involved. We are doing some exciting things, but we need the participation. And I love the young people, how they have taken a hold and going to protest to say these things we will not tolerate. And it's their future. And I love our slogan here. We have fighting forward. It is for our grandchildren. I've already lived my life. It is for our grandchildren to have all the opportunities that they need. So more participation in college campuses, and like you said, you were trying to get one started when you were there, and I think that is important, yes.
You know, it also, you know, one of the things that we've seen too, and just recently, and you all are well aware of the news with our state representatives that were dismissed. You know, I think, and if you looked at the first protest, if you all saw the footage, you know, it's young people, it's high school students, and the thing is, I think there's a level of frustration because, quite frankly, if you're 16, you're pretty powerless. You don't have a vote. You know, who's going to listen to us, 16-year-old? Right. But I'll tell you, I think that we've seen some exciting things, particularly in our state, is with the young folks. There's a real urgency on their part. And Henrietta and I, like she alluded, our Tennessee Tech chapter has, quite frankly, basically exploded.
Oh, yes.
Because they have gone from struggling to really having some really good numbers in their chapter. And I think what they're seeing based on the NAACP is the vehicle, if you will. You know, an organization that's going to help them have a voice. And so we've been real lucky. But you know, Henrietta started talking about one of the things that we involve our young ladies with. And oh, by the way, just an insert here, or maybe later I can do it. The Cookeville Putnam branch was chartered with 5 counties, including Warren, because Warren had a branch some years ago.
Sure, yes.
And we were quite frankly hoping, because the requirements from national is you have to have 50 members.
Right.
And currently we don't have 50 members from Warren County. We would love for Warren County, because honestly, with your population, you all need a branch. But so right now, because of our charter, which we did in, actually we're a young branch, only 2015, we include Overton, White, Putnam, Clay, Warren, and then we annexed, if you will, Cumberland. So we use we were very fortunate to have leaders like Marvin and Henrietta here, as well as other folks like Mickey and some folks that have been around a while, and you know, and we quite frankly, we're pretty impressed with you guys having the museum here. And I know the city of McMinnville has supported you in that particular endeavor. And we partner also with Young Men United.
Right.
And they've got a wonderful group of folks that do all kinds of stuff, and we love it.
Yeah. Something, and this is probably a very small sample size, but background in education, you say there's a branch, if you will, at Tennessee Tech. How important is education to the overall sort of concept of the NAACP? I've always been an advocate of education. I was fortunate enough to get my education through the military. You know, I did a career in the Air Force. But I think education is paramount to any type of struggles, and being able to, you know, sort of verbalize those struggles. Do you feel the same way? I mean, obviously not everyone is going to have an education and have a degree, but I think that's a very vital part of an organization.
It is. It's so true. And I love NAACP because they go through the training process with us. Now, you may be talking about the secular education, and that's so important. But at the same time, if a person wants to be a part of this, they can be. And we can train them how to act and behave. As I said, my dad said, well, education is the key. And if you want to move out of poverty, if you want to move out of ignorance and move out of injustice, then education. And for a long time as a counselor, I encouraged my students to get at least 2 years other than the high school. But even now, we know that it takes more than that. And my education spans over several years. After I had children, I knew they were coming along and needed to get education. So my master's degree didn't come until I was about 30 or maybe 35, I don't know. But education is so important, and we need to be focusing on helping our people to understand what is important, and sometimes they don't always do that.
See, Mickey, I like what you did as a high school student. One of the things that I feel, now I'm going to tell you something. This is my viewpoint as I'm not a person of color. You can tell I'm very pale, but
she fits right in here.
Oh, of course. We're all friends anyway. But I will tell you that what you guys did, your band of brothers in high school, whoever did the black awareness. See, this is a lot of times, in particular folks, and I'm not, high school kids are sometimes more interested in what do they call it, the fumes, the perfume, and the automobiles. But nonetheless, it is critically important, and I found it critically important as an adult to read. Henrietta and I were talking about, there's a brief history of the NAACP on their national website, and it really didn't take 5 minutes to read, but it's a real good short history lesson, and I think that by itself, if folks in wherever, White County, Warren County, Putnam County, sit down and just read that, just take a minute or two, and understand where we were and where we came from, and hopefully where we're going, it is really, really important. Because, and I'll speak by myself, I won't going to represent you, but as a Christian, I love everybody. Now, don't always agree.
And I can agree with that, and I don't know how much, and that was the thing with my parents. The word is so important in my life, and that's why I want to see everybody have the right to education, to whatever political views they want, the right to vote and all of that. Because I think it all comes out of that Christianity and your spirituality and stuff.
That's very true. I think you're right. But backing up, it's, I know there's a lot of folks out there that believe the same way, but it's really critical to know, like I said, what our history is. And after I reread this actually last night and saw, why it started in 1909 and who was involved, but what right there at that point made this group come together. I mean, it was quite frankly an unusual group.
It was.
A very unusual group of folks.
White said, this is not right, that slavery is a national sin.
Right.
And it was only 7 blacks.
Right.
That were involved in that group.
In the early, and the very first. So, it was real important to, it's important for us to understand that, but it's also important to understand everything that came before. But one of the things, Mickey, that we are doing in addition to that is our Juneteenth.
Oh, yes.
Our Juneteenth, I know Henrietta it's near and dear to all our hearts, Juneteenth itself, and understanding, because that hasn't, what has it been, a national holiday? 3 years? 2 years, something like that?
2 years, I believe.
And number one, why it's a national holiday, the history behind Juneteenth as an integral part of the whole civil rights, if you will, movement and so forth. So Henrietta and I are involved on the committee for our Juneteenth scholarship pageant. I'll get it right. This is our second year.
Yes.
Last year we
gave about $8,000.
About $8,000 in scholarships, and we open it to, ages 4 to 21. Yeah, 4 to, well, not in the same category. We have 6 different categories, and what it is, Mickey, it emphasizes everything from the ability, education, to speak, to present yourself well. We also, one of the important parts of the Juneteenth pageant for us is educating our young ladies on the importance of Juneteenth, what it means, what it meant then, and I hope your folks know what Juneteenth is, but I'll just very briefly say, after the Emancipation Proclamation, which was 1863, but what happened was Juneteenth happened in June the 19th, Juneteenth, in 1865, when the federal troops went to Galveston and told, because needless to say, the communication was not great.
Not like it is today.
I don't even know if they had telegraphs, but basically went through that part of southern Texas and told the landowners and the slave owners that slavery was no longer acceptable in our nation, and we want our young folks, because sometimes they don't understand that. It's an educational process, and we ask them, the young lady, not the 4-year-olds, but the older girls from, 13 on, to what does Juneteenth mean? So in other words, they're going to have to spend some time finding out what it is and how it affects everything. But so yeah, we're having
it's a pageant about scholarship, not beauty or anything.
Right.
Like, although they do have to present themselves in a correct manner. Yeah.
Right, and we like I said, and the good news for us is we have, and that of course everything's raised from personal donors, and we have been very fortunate to have folks that are willing to support this scholarship effort, and we hope to exceed. Last year was our first year, and as Henrietta indicated, $8,000, and we're hoping to go up considerably over that.
Yes.
So is the pageant going to be your marquee event throughout the year, or do you have other events that are going on throughout the year?
We do the Freedom Fund thing.
Right.
That's in October.
Right. We have I guess you'd say our fundraiser, because we are funded. Other than we've applied for a few grants, but basically it's funded through donations.
Okay.
So what we do every October, right, is we have what is called a Freedom Fund banquet. Right. We had 2 years we had to do Zoom, but we had wonderful speakers, and it actually turned out pretty nice.
It did, yes.
But we normally have our event in October and have a banquet, and last year we were very fortunate to have J.B. Smiley out of Memphis, who was he was a gubernatorial candidate the year before, quite an eloquent speaker. The year before that we had London Lamar. We don't know who's going to be. Maybe we can have you speak.
You don't need me there. I'd like to attend.
It's a beautiful occasion. During the Freedom Fund, we award the members who have excelled in certain areas.
Right.
Yeah, we have some. Well, as a matter of fact, there were several from Warren County that's received that event.
Yes, Wayne Woodford has.
Yeah, Wayne got one, and then 2 or 3 years ago, we did an award to the Young Men United for their work in the community. And that's the thing about Warren County. My word, you all have got some good folk, really good folk that really have made their mark and continue to make their mark. And so we try to, actually, I think we've done an award with Warren County in just about every year.
There's so many good things we're doing. We have the Martin Luther King breakfast, that's in January. I think it's January, yeah. And just a great time for people to come together and support the operation that we do.
Right, and we do some other philanthropic work. We have just recently, we had that really bad, was it a month ago in Tipton County out there in Covington?
Yes.
Well, we got, thank goodness, we just got some strong winds, but we did a philanthropic effort with the folks for the schools in McNairy County and in Tipton County. So we do other philanthropic work throughout the years.
Needed, yes.
Yeah. And so.
You mentioned donations, that you do apply for some grants, but primarily your financial support is through donation. Do you get any financial support from the national office at all?
No.
None.
Well, let me back up. As treasurer, I can tell you
Right.
that part of your membership fee
does come back.
Okay.
In other words, we get before technology, we got 40% of the fee to join the NAACP. It's $30, and we would get whatever, $15.78 or whatever 40% is.
Right.
And now we are, because we're automated, we do get 50%. But to be honest with you, that's kind of not much. But so that's the only thing we get from national. We have we've been very fortunate to get a grant. I've written 2 grants, and we've received money for what we call our civic engagement. Because the NAACP is not partisan, we do not support candidates.
Right.
But we are very committed to education.
Yeah.
We register folks. We talk to them about what like we come to Warren County, your wonderful election commission has helped us do things like get the ballot. We can print out, the sample ballot, and then we print it out and we go, okay, so when you go in, this is what it's going to look like. A lot of folks like us vote every time the door's open, but there are some people that don't feel confident.
Right.
Now, we don't give advice of who to vote for.
Sure.
But we do help folks understand, like early vote, of course, is down here on, I think I'm pointing in the right direction, down here at the Election Commission office, but the hours and times in their community for Election Day. So
and just sometimes explaining, because I think it was last year there was there something about teacher education or something that we needed to explain, and so there were pamphlets and things like that. No, we don't tell them how to vote, but certainly giving them the information they need so they can vote.
Yeah, that's our big push for what we call civic engagement. And one of the things that we are in the infancy of is connecting what we call affiliated groups with us.
Yeah.
We have a real good group of folks that we want to keep them informed so they can keep their people informed. But that the educational portion of the voting, I'll be honest with you, one of the biggest issues we have, and if you have a magic wand to fix this, I'd appreciate it. A lot of people don't think their vote counts. Not physically counted.
I heard that the other day.
Well, what does it matter if I get out and go?
Vote.
Yeah, my one vote. But it is so critical particularly if you're unhappy about a policy or who's representing you.
Right.
It is so important, and I don't know how to, I'll be honest with you, I don't have a magic wand. Yes, it's worth your time.
Back to education and talking it up to people and getting them out of their chairs. And when I was growing up, we had cars that would take people to the ballot and all that, and I don't know if we're still doing that or not.
Be honest with you, we're in such a litigious community. People are afraid.
Yeah, oh yes.
I'm not afraid to have somebody, but what if something happened and somebody bumped their head or twisted their ankle?
From a liability standpoint,
Yeah.
Have you noticed, talking about voting, have you noticed the similar type of trend as we see nationally, that the local statewide elections doesn't get as much turnout as the national elections? I know that's been a nationwide problem, trying to educate people that really it's probably even more important to elect your state representative, judges, things of that nature, than maybe the president.
Right.
So y'all sort of see that same kind of
very low turnout.
Yeah.
We were because of the NAACP provides us the voter database, and we can look at the numbers. I mean, I can look at District 7 and tell you how many voted in August or something like that.
Right.
And it is interesting. I'll be honest with you, I think county commission race and city council races and mayor's races are, I mean, I like to vote for the president, don't get me wrong, but I'll tell you that is...
Well, the local people are going to be the ones around that makes the decisions for how
to fix my pothole.
Right, sure. And it's hard to get that message over, I think, sometimes, that how important those local races are, and electing those people and coming out and turning out to do that. And I guess in some aspects, if you look at sort of the demographics of where you are and your voting preferences, things of that nature, you may go vote and maybe your candidate doesn't win, but I've always tried to tell myself, my pride comes from the fact that I took advantage of my right to go vote and vote, and by no means is my candidate going to win every time. But I think that's what I've always tried to emphasize, especially with my daughters when they become a voting age. Don't think so much about whatever party always carries our state or our district or whatever. Take pride in the fact that you took advantage of one of your rights and you went and you voted. So I think if you can sort of get that message over, it might help some. But there's a lot of apathy throughout our country, not only in Warren County or Putnam County or the Tennessee, but throughout our country right now for the political system. It's really hard.
When you get somebody in there, they made all these promises, and then they don't follow through, it is disheartening.
Right, I agree.
Yes.
Agree with that also.
I wish, I think that's the big thing is how do we motivate? And Mickey, I'm so glad you brought that up about local elections because, I think local and state particularly, because you look at the policies that are set that affect our school system here in Warren County or other things that are very personal. It's my kids, it's my grandchildren.
Right.
Those races are really, really important.
Very important.
Yes.
Very.
And we have to understand that every vote counts, and it's so important. I don't know, because it's sometimes you get. I get it. The good news is we've got early vote these days.
Sure.
But if you get off work, do you really want to go? And
Right.
we're tired or whatever. The kids don't feel well or whatever. But we got to keep pushing.
Oh, sure. You don't
Keep
give
pushing.
Up. Don't
Keep
give up.
pushing.
And I think this topic kind of came up in our Sunday school Sunday, and Brother King, he asked the question, and and I'm saying to folks, and I think everybody in there that I was talking to are voters, but we need to spread the word to our young people and to maybe, like you say, the senior citizens that just don't want to get out and go.
Right.
But we have to educate them on the importance of voting. Mm-hmm. And it's an ongoing process. It just doesn't stop when this election is over with, but we have to keep educating. And I think NAACP does a good job with that. Like she said, we'll have voter registration and all of that, yes. Yeah.
I think that, Henrietta, it's so important that we make, if that's possible, make folks stop and think, there were people that died, so I can cast my vote.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, it sounds a little, I don't want to say trivial, but it is, because they don't, I'm talking about young folks. It is so important to realize, the Medgar Evers of our history, and I'm just throwing that name out, but there's plenty more. Very high profile.
I was just talking to my state representative about John Lewis, and I said, well, he sat at that corner, at that counter in Nashville, so my little boys could have the opportunities that they have. And we sometimes forget what others who've gone on have done for us.
That's right.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I think maybe sometimes as generations go on, you think the battle has been won because your generation didn't go through the things that those other generations go through. But as the battle has not been won. We have to deal with those kind of issues all the time. And I thought it sort of ironic, and I'm going to sort of throw it out this and see what y'all think. Dr. Martin Luther King's the holiday was a very contentious issue when it was brought up. There were states that even said we don't recognize the holiday, and a lot of rancor about that. But when the issue of Juneteenth came up, it was almost like it went through the House and the Senate with no debate almost. Do you think it was a matter of timing? Because this was during the time of the George Floyd issues and all the issues we were having in our nation. And I've often thought about that, and I sort of think to myself, it was a little bit about timing, because I appreciate the history of Juneteenth and what happened during Juneteenth, and then I look at what Dr. Martin Luther King did during his time, and once again gave his life for what he believed in. So it just seems a little almost hypocritical when you look at, wow, Juneteenth went through, nobody had a thing to say about it, it's a national holiday, but we struggled so hard and fought so hard to get Dr. King a holiday. It's just ironic to me, I guess is what I'm saying. And maybe it's just one of those things that just happen that way, but I think about that often.
Well, I think you're right on that because of the disturbance with George Floyd and all of that. It all stirred the pot.
Right.
And let's give them this day. And it may be that, I don't think our world is getting better, but But I think we are moving forward just a little bit, not much, just a little bit.
It's taken a long time.
A step in the right direction at each day, right? Understand.
And there you go.
Yeah. Tell us about the pageant. I want to make sure we got the dates of the pageant again.
June 10th.
June 10th. It's because we actually participate in Juneteenth activities here in Warren County,
with the
and there is a
Young
pretty
Men
yard.
United.
Yeah, we always participate down here at that event, and we have another one up in Cookeville on the 17th, which is the actual date. The 10th, and it's going to be in Cookeville. If anyone wants information on that,
I do have applications.
yeah,
And,
Henrietta, you can get in
yeah,
touch with her,
yeah.
or the application is on the website. We have a website. It's naacp.cookvilleputnam.org, and that is almost our email address. It's naacp.cookvilleputnam@gmail. So we've got those two opportunities.
Now the deadline for getting your application
Is
in
next
is,
week. Next
May
week.
2nd. So
Well, there's a couple of reasons for that, but if we can, and there are phone numbers and so forth that we can put out there for folks to reach out to. Henrietta, we can send them by the applications by email.
Right.
Because honestly what we do is, there's a couple of reasons for that deadline is, we have to have photograph. We have to have a bio.
Right.
And we have to have parental permission. All of our young
Medical
ladies
record
need
and all that.
permission unless they're of age. And they do rehearse. But it's at the Cookeville Community Center. And if anybody knows where Avery Trace is on Spring Street, right? Just off of 111. So yeah, it's over at the Cookeville Community Center, and it'll be very, very good. It's going to be a long day because we've got the little ones, the 4-year-olds. There's 3 groups, and then the afternoon starts with the 13-year-olds, and then we've got those grouped, and it's always fun.
And there's a little bit of entertainment in
Yeah,
there.
we've got
Also,
folks singing and dancing and
so
and
it's
food.
very nice.
We have food. Always have to have food,
Have
you
to
know.
have food, yes. And one of our members, he is a great chef.
Right, retired Navy cook,
Yeah.
Okay.
and worked at Tech for a long time as a cook, and so but I mean, I don't think you can mess up nachos.
No, you can't. They're my favorite.
Yeah, I know. They're terrible for you. Anyway.
And Warren County residents they can apply for any of those categories. We want to make sure.
We want,
I
hey,
didn't have anybody last year, so we would, and I'm all for helping people get scholarships. So yes, they can apply.
and we do have on our donor form, we have a section for people to sponsor folks that can. It is a $50 entry fee, but I think basically, we gave a lot of money away last year.
Yeah.
But we do have folks that are willing to sponsor, so the $50 shouldn't be a problem.
No.
If anybody wants a scholarship for the event, we can certainly accommodate that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We certainly can.
Good.
Yeah, you need to come, Mickey.
Oh, I'm going to try to be there. I'm going to definitely try to be there. Yeah. Well, thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
G, Ms. Henrietta,
Yes.
for coming in today. Really appreciate it. We could sit there and talk about this all day long.
Oh,
I've got that history of my NAACP involvement too, so we could stay here all day. But thank you very much for coming in.
Oh, it is our pleasure.
It is.
Henrietta, I'll tell you one thing about our little group. Henrietta we've known each other for about 3 or 4 years, I don't know, 4 years,
Yeah,
something.
about
And I
4
mean,
since
we're
we
really
retired.
good friends because we talk almost every day. So it's a good group of folks in our group, and we would love to have anybody that watches this would love to have you as a member, and you can get a membership application off of our website, or you can get in contact with one of us.
And currently, right now, we're doing them on Zoom. We have our general membership meeting is on the 3rd Tuesday, something like
Correct.
that.
And we're doing Zoom, so
you don't even have to get out of your chair, And
stay in your PJs.
Great. And our president, he's just really on top of things. Now,
Yeah.
Miss Johnny Wheeler, she is coordinating this activity with Geeta. So,
Okay.
and she does a great
Oh
job.
gosh,
with it.
amazing,
Yes,
amazing.
Good, good. All right, thanks again.
Well, thank you.
And thank you for joining us for this edition of Soul of Warren County. As you can see, the struggle continues. Please join us next time. And until then, make today and every day a great day.